about a couple solving by graphing. If I ask you to solve by graphing, what do you have to do first?
Slope-intercept form.
Okay, y equals mx plus b form. Have to get the y by itself. So on number 1, what would we have to do?
Subtract x.
So we get y equals negative x plus 2. You need to write that down. On the test, I'm giving you a point just for having the correct equation at that point. Then how do I graph that?
Go positive 2.
Y-intercept 2. Slope is negative 1, so down 1, right 1. Or you could go up and to the left. And then you use your ruler and draw me a nice lovely line. This is where I have a ruler up here. My lines are not very straight. Okay, second one. So if I subtract my x, that gives me negative y equals negative x plus 4. Then what do you have to do?
Divide negative 1.
So y equals x minus 4. So negative 4, slope is positive 1. Up 1 over 1. And then, I've had people that do the whole graph correct, but then forget to answer the question. What am I asking you to find? Yeah, this point where they meet. So xy, so the x is 3 and the y is negative 1. So this is probably like a 5-point question. 1 point for rewriting your equation y equals mx plus b. 1 point for graphing it. Write the second equation y equals mx plus b. 1 point for graphing it. And then the final point is telling me where they meet. Let's do number 3 together. So if I want to solve the first one, what would I do?
Subtract x.
So negative 4y equals negative x plus 28. This time I have to divide by negative 4. Don't just drop that 4 on your x. That means negative 1 divided by negative 4 is a positive 1/4 x minus 7. Start at negative 7. My slope is a positive 1/4. Up 1 and over 4. And then you draw your line. Second line, I'm subtracting my x. So 2y equals negative x minus 2. Divide everything by 2. So y is negative 1/2 x minus 1. So we start at negative 1, then down 1 and right 2. And then my answer is where they meet. What is that point? Anybody tell me the point where those two cross?
8 negative 5.
Okay, so we've done quite a bit of graphing. We did it with our inequalities and just with the lines. Remember, if it's just y equals, we're just plotting those lines. The inequalities, when you have the less than and greater than, that's when you end up shading along with it. So we should be able to handle those. If you graph them and they are the same line, what do we say? If they're the same line, it's infinite solutions. If they never cross, it is no solutions. Okay. Let's talk about substitution. So first we did systems of equations, then we went into our substitution. Let's do number 7. If I ask you to solve by substitution, you have to take one of the equations and solve for one of the variables. So what do you think would be the easiest to get by itself? That's elimination. Could I get this x by itself in the bottom one?
Yeah.
So we would add the 2y. So on your test, I am going to tell you to do a couple by substitution and a couple by elimination to make sure you know both methods. So x is 1 plus 2y. What do I do with that?
You put it in place of x.
In the first equation. We haven't used the first equation. So the first equation, instead of x, I put my 1 plus 2y plus 4y equals 19. Add like terms, these are on the same side, so I'm just adding them together. 2y plus 4y is 6y. Subtract my 1. Divided by 6. So y is 3. Once I have my y, how do we get x?
You put the 3 back in.
So I could go right here, I said x is 1 plus 2 times y, but y is 3. X is 1 plus 6, which is 7. Then your answer, x comma y, is 7 comma 3. Let's go ahead and do number 8 together. I'll do another substitution one with you. What variable are we going to have to get by itself this time? I'm going to do y in the first one. So if we subtract the 6x, that gives me negative y equals negative 6x minus 21. Divide everything by negative 1, so y is 6x plus 21. Now I have to sub that into the second equation. Putting this into the second one. So my second equation is 5x plus 3 times y. So y is 6x plus 21 equals 17. So you take one equation, solve for one variable, plug it into the other one. So now, where do we go next? What do I do with my 3? Same side, so I can add them. 5x plus 18x is 23x. I subtract my 63. by 23. X is negative 2. Then, once we have x, we can plug it back in. We said y is 6x plus 21. 6 times negative 2 plus 21. Negative 12 plus 21 gives us 9. So our answer, x comma y, is negative 2 comma 9. Make sure you write that order pair at the end. Okay, so we've reviewed graphing and we reviewed substitution. Are there questions on either of those strategies? Okay, next thing. Pick one of the elimination problems, 9 through 12. Which one do you guys want me to do? I heard 9 first. Okay, so elimination, if I say to do elimination, our goal is to be able to add the equations and get something to cancel. In order for that to happen, they have to have the same coefficient but opposite signs. So if I want x to cancel, what would I take the first equation times?
Negative 8.
So it gives me a negative 3x plus a 9y equals 39. So if we add negative 3x and positive 3x cancel, 9y plus 7y is 16y equals 64. Divided by 16, and y is 4. Once we have that, we plug it back in either equation. So if I go with the first one, x minus 3 times y, which is 4. Add the 12. And get x equals negative 1. So my answer, x comma y, negative 1 comma 4. Elimination is probably the one we are most familiar with. It's one most of you preferred and did when we were working through our word problems. All right. I'm going to do one more problem with you right now, I think. Let's go to the word problems. Let's go to let's do 17 together. So it tells me Dustin has only nickels and quarters in his piggy bank. So what are my variables? Okay, remember you get points just for writing what x and y are. So I'm going to say x is nickels and y is quarters. There's a point. Then I need my equations. He has 49 coins. So what would the first equation be?
X plus y equals 4.
And then I talk about the value. How much is a nickel worth? 0.05x plus a quarter is 0.5, so 0.25y equals the total amount of money, 8.85. Now, we could solve this by substitution or elimination. If I want to eliminate x, what would I take my first equation times? Negative 0.5. x's cancel. A negative 0.05 and a positive 0.25 is a positive 0.2. Negative 2.45 and positive 8.85 is 6.4. Divide. And y equals 32. And once you have y, you can just come back and plug it in. So the first equation, x plus y, which is 32, equals 49. Factor 32. So x is 17. And at the end of these, I did ask you to write what it means. So 17 equals 32. Okay. On the very back page, I want you to mark off the last question. Question number 22, we are not doing. So just put an X through that one. Alright, so now I'm going to give you some time and I want you to go back and work some of these problems that we did not do.